What's going on, boxing fans? It's Aaron Cantu coming in for another edition of Cantu's Corner. And today I'm just going to reflect and give some perspective on boxing promoter Eddie Hearn and how he's been taking a bunch of L's in some of the biggest fights that he's promoted. This is not a hater video, this is just acknowledging facts. So Eddie Hearn, promoter for Matchroom Boxing, has really made a name for himself over the last couple years in some of the fights he's promoted. Some of the fighters that he has in the stable, Anthony Joshua, Brook, are just some of the big fighters that he has, the Dillian Whites of the world. But let's be real, Eddie Hearn has been taking a lot of L's when it comes to some of these big fights. Now, I will say this, he has facilitated viewership for the sport as far as facilitating the platform of the zone in the sport of boxing. I think it's a great thing. I personally don't have anything against the guy. I've interviewed him a couple times. He never turns down an interview. He's very accessible. I'll give him that. And off camera, he's a real cool dude. I mean, he's really chill. He's easy to talk to. He's not like, he doesn't one up you. He's really cool. But the only thing I do have against him is I feel like he is mainly responsible for the fact that Anthony Joshua never fought Deontay Wilder and still hasn't fought him to this day. But boxing karma happens. He gets smacked up by Ruiz, and that's how the boxing gods are repaying him. So anyways, I just want to review some of the big fights that he's promoted over the last few years and just show that he's been taking L's at the highest level. The first L I'm going to talk about with Eddie Hearn was Brook getting stopped by Spence a couple years back in his hometown. That was a big fight. A fight where both guys had to prove themselves. They were both coming into this fight undefeated at 147. Brook had just lost to Triple G, and a lot of people felt like Spence was still unproven at that stage, and it was a great fight. Brook showed a lot of strength early in the fight, but Spence just broke him down. That's L number one. Another L, I was at this fight about a year and a half ago. Luke Campbell lost a split decision to Jorge Linares, and that was the first fight that I ever covered with Eddie Hearn promoting. And now Luke Campbell's about to fight Lomachenko, and we obviously know how that one's going to go. He's going to take another L. Luke Campbell, I just feel like he doesn't deserve the shot, man. I saw the fight against Linares, and I felt like Linares was just levels above him. He outclassed him in that fight. Luke Campbell's a good boxer. He knows how to stay on the outside, but he has no power. His style is not entertaining at all. So I just don't like Luke Campbell's style at all. I think he's boring. I don't think he goes in and mixes it up enough. I feel like he plays keep away too much. But anyway, that was the second L. Daniel Jacobs losing to Canelo Alvarez. That was another big L that Eddie Hearn took. A lot of people felt Jacobs had the skill set to give Canelo some problems, but in the fight, I watched it and I didn't believe that he won more than 4 rounds. I think Canelo was schooling him, honestly. I think Canelo was making him miss. He was doing what he wanted. A lot of people criticized for Canelo for not being as aggressive in that fight, but I don't think he had to. I thought he was well in hand, well in control. Jacobs didn't land too many punches that hurt Canelo. He landed a nice straight left hand later in the fight that was eye-catching, but Canelo just shook it off, and Canelo schooled him in that fight. So that was another big L that Eddie Hearn took, and he really had belief in Jacobs. A lot of people did, that he would go for it more in that fight. So that's L number 3. L number 4, obviously, Anthony Joshua getting upset by Andy Ruiz at Madison Square Garden. Another huge fight. A lot of people thought that Joshua was going to walk through Ruiz. I'm pretty sure Eddie Hearn felt that Picky Ruiz was going to be a tune-up for Joshua. But I felt like closer to the fight, Eddie Hearn was even saying, hey, this guy, AJ's going to have to get this guy off him. So as the fight was getting closer, he knew the threat that was there. And sure enough, Ruiz made it happen, stopped the prized possession of Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. Their cash cow, Anthony Joshua, no longer undefeated. That was probably the biggest L he's took since promoting Matchroom and with the platform of the zone. So that was another huge L. And then the last L, I was at the fight. Maurice Hooker got stopped by Jose Ramirez. And it's interesting because after the fight, we did a scrum around Eddie Hearn, and he's not a poor sport. He's not sour, but you can tell like it's getting to him, man. Like it's not fun when you're losing a lot of fights, man. And I've been a part of a team. I've only had one season in my whole football career where I had a losing season, and that's not fun, man. Once you start taking defeats, it almost becomes a habit, and it's not a good feeling, you know. So I kind of sensed that when we talked to Eddie Hearn after the Hooker Ramirez fight. That was a 50-50 fight. Both fighters were undefeated, unification at 140. And this is not a hater video on Eddie Hearn. It's just a video to point out the fact that he has been taking a lot of losses at the highest level. And I'm just waiting to see, is this going to continue on, or at some point is he going to be able to win one of these 50-50 fights? You know, this is boxing, anything could happen, but I've been seeing Eddie Hearn taking a lot of L's, and this whole Dillian White situation isn't helping him out. And you know, obviously in this rematch with Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua, if he takes another L, I mean, where does the man go from here? Yeah, it's bad right now for Eddie Hearn. But I will say this, he does attract a lot of media. Right after the fight against with Hooker and Ramirez, everybody was clamoring towards him because he has that aura, that presence of, you know, what is he gonna say next? You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I like Eddie Hearn. I think he's cool, but I think he's a master deflector. And if you want to say he's a good promoter, when defining promoters as people who can manipulate the masses and pump up their fighter more than he probably should be, Eddie Hearn is definitely great at doing that. So it's your boy Young Cantu. Stay up, stay tuned. We'll come at you with some more videos. Peace.